So I want to talk about let's talk about cracking the matrix from your perspective. What exactly, I guess there's so many interpretations. Help us understand from your perspective, what is a matrix a thing we created? Is it a thing we're stuck in? Is it individual per person? Like how do you see it? First of all, let's start from that place.
Sure. We all live in an individual matrix called our mind. So we all have, our mind builds meaning, it's based in memory. We're kind of like the walking, talking, chewing gum, sum total of all of our experiences, hopes, dreams, meditations in life. So it's kind of like, you're right. The matrix is such a multifaceted, multidimensional word to use. So we live in our personal matrix, and then there's the consensus reality matrix, if you will, that we all agree, it's Sunday, it's Monday, it's Friday. You're supposed to go to school and get a good degree and make lots of money, and then you are somebody. And then there's the spiritual matrix, which really kind of blew my mind, because as I was writing the book, I started. So matrices are these thought forms, these concepts of reality that we think are reality. And so when I started writing Cracking the Matrix, I was really stunned to see how many different matrices I had created and lived in.
Mhm.
And that's just the self-created matrices versus whatever else is possibly being pumped into the earth grid to lower human consciousness, if you will, different agendas, if you will. I'm going to avoid the C word as long as I can here, conspiracy. But to basically ensnare us in a reality and a self-belief system that is not who we really are. And if you really take a look at humanity and our situation today globally, it's not a very pretty picture what humanity has apparently created and who we apparently are. We've kind of mucked it all up, apparently. But the more I went through studying the topic and the nature of evil this past 2 years, the more I realized the idea that we are not who we really are, which is love and light, has been pressed to us, and that there is an exterior agenda, if you will, that is hell-bent on pulling us down to our lowest common denominator. So there's all these different levels. There's no real easy answer to your question.
That's a
But
great
I hope
answer.
That's a great answer.
I actually really like the way that you answered it, because it's multi-layered or multifaceted. No matter what someone's interpretation of it, it's exactly what you said. It's the matrix we put on ourselves. It's the spiritual matrix. It's this also other matrix that people may feel that was put on upon us. There are just multiple layers of it.
Yeah, the school matrix, the social matrix, the
Medical
political matrix,
Let's-
the economic matrix. It goes on and on and on. But the deeper you dive, the more the threads start to connect, and what looks like superficial global chaos actually starts to make sense when you start diving into different topics like I have, which is, the nature and actual real presence of an evil consciousness on this planet that really isn't. We've been trained from religion onwards to think, the whole original sin concept, that human beings are flawed, that the body is something to be at best tolerated and preferably transcended. And that this is not where we want to be. We want to be out there. And so religion, makes us feel lesser than by introducing the concept of original sin. And there's no, and love and light is out there, that belongs to God, and we're these lowly worms, and we've got to like scrabble and scratch and crawl and obey all the rules, and maybe we'll get there someday. And there's that, and then there's the whole spiritual idea that it's all about getting out of the body and all about not being who we really are, which is I'm sitting here, I got an identity and a personal ego and yada yada, and I think I'm Cate Montana talking to April and Jay. Underneath all of that dynamic, we really are these amazing spiritual beings, and there's no separation in the body. So I was kind of flabbergasted as I dived in to realize that the matrix of the social world is really actually no different than the matrix of the spiritual world. I was really shocked to realize that, you know, the whole social agenda is, you know, you got to be somebody, you got to struggle, you got to strive, you have to make something of yourself. In other words, you're not good enough, you got to be better, and you got to be XYZ. And then when I looked at spirituality, and I'd spent 40 years of, you know, 30,000 hours of meditation, and it was all about being who I'm not being in my body. I'm not good enough. I've got to, you know, ascend to a different state of consciousness, my higher self, in my Christ self, my whatever. And the messages were exactly the same. I'm not good enough. I'm not who I need to be, which takes us out of our essential foundation where we really live and who we really are. And that's where our power lies, is in recognizing that simple essential fact that we are spirit and we are love. So I was like, I started seeing all these different connections, and that they're, you know, the whole spiritual gig that I'd been on, the spiritual path for 40 years, was actually no different than the religious path or the social path. It was all trying to take me away from myself. And that's when I went, whoa, there's a different agenda going on here.
Do you think that's the agenda?
So
Do you think
interesting.
that's the sleight of hand right there, which is like letting us know that, okay, hey, you know, if you ascend, you're going to get closer to God. If you, like you said, you get Christ conscious, or in the religious thing, if you pray or you do this, you know, you'll get closer to God. Do you think that in and of itself is that the anti-life force that you refer to?
I think it's a belief system that has been introduced and then perpetuated by us. I think it's one tool in a multidimensional toolkit of this agenda, of this other force that has been on Earth as long as we have been. I have no idea how far back the whole concept of evil is, but when I started investigating, do you want me to tell you how I started on this path?
Yeah, what happened in 2007?
Oh, what happened in 2007? Oh God. Well, you know, in a nutshell, I'd been focused on transcendence and enlightenment for 25 years. And I mean, I was one of those hardcore meditators, ascetic kind of type people. And, you know, it was inevitable that I would crack out of the whole ego construct and go to that infinite expansive mind that we really are. And so I had a 3-day experience where the whole ego identity dropped. And I realized in that moment that I had not only that I was eternal, that not only would I never die, the body could have dropped in an instant and it wouldn't have made a particle of difference to my state of awareness and who I was. But what was really interesting in that 3 days is that it became immediately apparent that I had never been born. I'm an eternal being like you are eternal beings. And so that was a 3-day awakening that, you know, I don't even know what I did that 3 days. It was transcendent. And it really screwed me up because when the Matrix, the identity of Cate Montana, which is, you know, if you're probably familiar with the movie What the Bleep Do We Know? You know, we have a neurological network and how the brain functions. There's a network in my brain that is Cate Montana. It's all of my memories, all of my thoughts, my sensory experiences of a lifetime, probably from conception onwards, has built this construct of an identity called Cate Montana that is a human being in a body that strives to get out of the body to become something else.
Right.
Yeah, so that identity rewove itself over the course of maybe a month after that 3-day experience. And it was really disturbing because I had clearly seen that I wasn't Cate Montana. I was totally out of all the matrices. Well, you know, I'm not going to say that because I don't know how deep that rabbit hole goes, but I'll say it seemed like I was out of all of the matrices. And then reintegrating as Cate Montana with that experience, it took me another decade. to get my head around that.
What prompted that 3-day experience? Were you intentionally doing something to bring it on, or was it just you just came out of nowhere? It was an experience and you were like, holy crap, this is lasting for 3 days?
My mind went crazy, April, because I went, okay, this could help anybody with where they have damage in their body. And if you just let that sink in, it is so profound.